problematic for Charizard.
Speaking of problematic for Charizard, 2 counter catcher in the prizes, and just here round number 9 at the Toronto Regional Championships, and Sebastian will be kicking things off. And while there's a lot of powerful cards here, supporters, Ultra Balls, I think Sebastian's just got to think about how he wants to play through this first turn. Of course, you do have the advantage of having some knowledge of what your opponent is playing, thanks to the Gimme Goal being started in the active spot. Now it just comes down to how do you want to go through your first turn knowing there should be no knockouts in the following turn.
There's another energy hitting the discard pile, as you can see, putting the energies in front just to price check, or not, never mind. But yeah, I mean, very thorough with the review of the deck. We'll realize that 1 energy is priced, 1 energy just got discarded, so that's barely enough to attack with 1 Charizard. So those super routes will be very important for Sebastian as he uses up some resources.
So we'll see Sebastian just go through and check the deck, see what pieces are available. We are doing a thorough deck check here. We are taking cards, putting them in piles, making sure he knows exactly what is available. We'll get the pretty quick news that there is a fire energy in the prizes. And Pablo, how do you think Sebastian, now having information that both of those counter catcher are unavailable, could maybe change his strategy in terms of how he wants to go about this first game?
That will definitely limit his options in terms of chasing down a Serendipity or what else is in here? Yeah, just a Serendipity as a way to like try to get a 2-price knockout. Knocking out a Goldengo X will be very difficult, and it's going to be hard to play around the different ones with no counter catcher availability. But the only liability is that Serendipity, so not ideal, perhaps less impactful than we would think it would be.
So we'll just be the Pidgey, Charmander, and Rotom on the bench to start things off. And Jason going for a Cypher Maniac's code breaking immediately. And as soon as you see those Buddy Buddy Poffin put on the top of the deck, I think it's a combo time here for Jason. Cypher Maniac just working so well in the deck, like Goldengo, where you have so many ways to just draw those cards or discard those cards thanks to Pokestop from the top of your deck.
Pokestop, a perfect card to go alongside this, and it is available. Otherwise, that could have been a difficult turn. That would not have been great. Now, the issue is, other than the Poffins, right? Like, you don't play Rotom yourself. Your Greninja is priced, so even Nestball isn't a good out right now to get you extra cards, right? Like, Cypher Maniac's good, but because you're going to combo it with Pokestop, you can't put a supporter up there. It would just get discarded. Therefore, what's your follow-up? Yeah, I didn't see a Goldengo EX in the hand. I did see the Energy Surge Pro, which was not immediately played, even though it's a great card to be thinning, right? If all your energies just get Iono, then you're going to be in trouble.
So it will be the Cypher Maniac putting 2 item cards at the top of the deck. And there is the Pokestop in hand. Also does have that Energy Surge Pro, deciding to not play that yet. So we know these first 2 cards.
Surprise!
Third unit. Oh, that's a great card there.
Oh, that's amazing. I would have actually thought that would have been a great card to put instead of the Nestball. That way you guarantee a Goldengo. You have the Energy Surge Pro. You can pretty much respond to whatever Sebastian does, assuming they get like the ideal turn to Charizard, turn to Pidgeot knockout, right? But yeah, I mean, rewarded with that. Ultra Ball has a Nestball for a potential Serendipity follow-up in case the Gimme Goal does get KO'd. So not too bad, yeah. What looked to be a very awkward hand now became very, very good.
And now I think is just the question here for Jason of, are you content just putting these 2 Gimme Goal in play and passing the following turn? Having Togekiss as an option is always solid, but it may have to be something that's put onto the back burner in terms of priority, especially when you're not going to have as consistent of an early game setup without that Radiant Greninja. So I think a smart choice here for Jason. Of course, you know, if he had known that last card was going to be an Ultra Ball, I'm sure would have just grabbed another Buddy Buddy Poffin. But this is a nice middle route, and it's not like Jason is in a bad spot whatsoever. He's got the Gimme Ghouls out, has ways to find cards next turn thanks to the Nest and Ultra Ball. See what Sebastian is able to do to, you know, immediately put pressure on Jason to start taking these big knockouts thanks to Make It Rain.
And that third Gimme Goal is so important because there is a universe where Sebastian could get the Charizard and a Dusknoir to eliminate 1 Gimme Goal and then attack the active, and they would have been against the ropes with no Gimme Goal in play. However, with 3, even if that happens, you still always are able to respond. And dedicating 2 rare candies to that, or even if you get the Pidgeot, that's 3 rare candies, like your follow-up after that is not going to be great because that's so many resources used. But I think just Pidgeot and Charizard here will suffice for Sebastian.
So we will see the Arven as the supporter of choice. That does grab Rare Candy and the Defiance Band, and this is just the MO for Charizard. Get the Rare Candy, Ultra Ball, find the Pidgeot, then Pidgeot for either the Rare Candy or Charizard, and voila, you're all set going forward. The big decision here for Sebastian, it seems, is just figuring out what 2 cards to get rid of. There's a lot of powerful cards in this hand. Already has the Forest Seal Stone, Boss and Arven for future turns is solid. Does decide to get rid of Buddy Buddy Poffin and that Luminion, so Luminous Sign will be only available if Sebastian does put that card back into the deck or hand, thanks to some of those recovery cards. And here we go, Quick Search is online and rolling. Pablo, I know you love this card. It just allows Charizard to essentially do whatever it wants every turn.
Quick Search is such a fantastic ability, but you were talking about that decision between the boss and the Luminion. With 2 counter catchers priced, I think discarding the Luminion instead of the boss was definitely correct, right? That way you still have 2 ghosting options available for yourself. Now, we did see Quick Search into Poffin.
Yeah, very interesting choice. So I guess valued every single other card in the hand. That would be, the only reason for not just playing the Buddy Buddy Poffin and grabbing a different card off Quick Search is every other card has a use. And it looks like that is the case, right? The Defiance Band is a super solid card. You want to keep the Arven for the following turns, and is just going to essentially pass the turnover, a glorified pass thanks to that instant charge ability. And while there is just a 1 prize Pokemon in the active spot, this gives Jason an opportunity, if he wants to just take this turn to continue to build his board up. Doesn't even necessarily need to take a knockout. And I wonder if that may actually be the correct line in this position. Instead of, activating those abilities for your opponent, putting your opponent in a position where they're going to be able to open a bench spot up, you just set up and pretty much say to your opponent, hey, for real, you've got to do something next turn or I'm ready.
Yeah, there's no need to, if you're not going to take 2 prizes, either on that Pidgeot or on that Rotom, you can definitely take it a bit slower. There is the threat of those Duskulls now in play. However, Jason very aware, I'm sure, that in order for Sebastian to reach for knockouts, they need to start taking some prizes. So, as you mentioned, taking it slow, definitely viable. And I can't emphasize how important that was, the top deck of the Goldengo. So the top of the deck being very kind for Jason so far.
Gotta be a little lucky when you're playing a deck like Goldengo. We do see a lot of these item cards in hand. Has continued to just hold on to this Energy Surge Pro. Interesting decision. We start to, slowly see these energy cards hit the discard pile, and you've always got to wonder, what if those were just already in your hand at a spot? And the only thing I can think of at this point is Jason's just a little bit afraid of how strong a card like Iono could be on the following turn to essentially negate the complete effects of that powerful ace spec.
Jason does have access to a single boss and a single counter catcher, so ghosting up those 2 prizers is going to be very difficult with no Luminion, with no direct search for that boss's hoarders. Jason might be forced to just take down this Duskull, giving Sebastian an opening to respond quite powerfully with a 1-hit KO with Charizard. But overall, that would require 1 Dusknoir ability to be activated or Dusclops, putting Jason back onto even prizes and being able to win by just knocking out Charizard and then 1 other Pokemon on the field. So I think under this current conditions, I would definitely favor Jason quite a bit, even with no Duskull or Togepi hitting the board yet.
Yeah, just taking the knockout, like you said. Of course, every knockout puts Charizard closer and closer to, dealing those big 1-hit knockouts. But even with a Defiance Band, would still be 20 damage short. Just going to, play this Ultra Ball, get another Goldengo into play, draw a few more cards, and strike first with Make It Rain to take the first prize card. And now that all these Pokemon, except for 1 on the bench, are Goldengo EX, that could have been a really big piece here. If Jason just evolved all of these Goldengo, or excuse me, the Gimmighoul to Goldengo, then I think Sebastian definitely has a lot harder of a route. Again, is going to come back to those big prize cards here. Sebastian not having access to Counter Catcher means even with a sizable hand, Quick Search online, still having that Forest Seal Stone, you've got to wonder, truly and realistically, with the cards in deck, what is the best he can do in this spot? What would be ideal for Sebastian in a position where his opponent's already got some Pokemon set up and has now got to find a way to prize map the rest of this game?
We've talked a lot about these extra prize mechanics, right? Briar and Togekiss. I think Sebastian's best path at winning here could be that Briar play. If he ends up going Rare Candy Dusknoir, KO the Gimmighoul, and then, thanks to the Defiance Band, is able to reach for a knockout on the Goldengo, that's 3 prize cards, right? Jason will be at 4. Jason then responds, knocking out that Charizard EX, and then you go Briar, KO Goldengo with another Charizard, and that's reprised over the course of 2 turns. I generally think that could be a path we see Sebastian take, and that's why he wasn't concerned about the Thornton, was less concerned about the boss and considered discarding it. This could be what we see here.
And the big question now, of course, is that energy being prized and an energy in the discard pile. That will be a piece we'll have to keep our eyes on at this point. We'll see Rare Candy Charizard thanks to Quick Search, and of course that Infernal Rain ability, allowing Charizard to power itself. This card just does everything. It powers itself up. It's a big, beefy Pokemon, and most importantly, it hits hard.
Another option Sebastian has, of course, is Disruption, combined with that Radiant Charizard, which is a fire type and would one KO that Goldengo at any point. Therefore, saving that energy in his deck to have it available in case he needs to go for that route. So it'll be interesting to see the 5 cards we get off of this Unfair Stamp, right? And if the V-Star is dedicated to getting that Dusknoir into play, or if we're just going to be a little safer and just go for a 2-2-2 route. We'll have to see what these 5 cards allow Sebastian to do.
Yeah, and big for Jason as well. We'll have that big hand shuffled back into the deck.
Yeah.
Only going to get 2 cards. And the Pokestop is currently in play, but you never know. Right? Sebastian could play something like the Lost Vacuum to get rid of that, though. Looks like he potentially did already get rid of that. No, still has it, and does find Ultra Ball off of that stamp. And of course, let's not forget about Flip the Script to fill the hand up even more. What will Sebastian decide to do? Does he want to go for this now? There's always, you know, the option of waiting and not using that Dusknoir ability, but we could just see an evolution come into play, and that changes everything.
I really think we're going to see it. It's going to require all 4 Rare Candy in order to win this game, right? With the Rare Candy Charizard next turn, we also need to free up the energy from the prize cards, which will not be possible, so therefore we'll need a Super Out as well. So I have to wonder if this will be the path. He's eyeing the Dusknoir, so we could be seeing an attempt at a win over the course of 2 turns. If Dusknoir isn't used this turn, then Charizard will not be able to knock out that Goldengo. Right now it's doing 240 damage only.
Yeah, a big thing we haven't even noticed is that V-Star power has yet to be used in this situation. So, I mean, if you're Sebastian, yes, you have to, you know, use a lot of resources in this point to get this whole play going, right? Rare Candy Dusknoir, take the knockout, knock out this active Pokemon, but you will still have the Pidgeot in play. You're still going to have Pheasantipity, and you're still going to have the Forest Seal Stone. Even if your opponent, you know, plays something like a Roxanne, which Jason does play 1 copy of, even at their best, you still got a very realistic way to win this game. As there it is, Cursed Blast going 1 for 1. And Sebastian, after this turn, will actually have the prize lead here 3-4.
That Stretcher means we have access to the Fire Energy. Sebastian also has the V-Star, has Ultra Ball for Charizard, and can Quick Search for the Briars. So I feel like Sebastian might already have everything he needs to just win next turn with the use of Briar.
I think was considering whether or not it was worth playing Ultra Ball in that spot just to grab the Charmeleon to put that into play so you don't need Rare Candy for the following turn, but decided the resources in hand were just not worth discarding, as Jason now has just a single Goldengo in the active spot, and the Pokestop to start things off does hit that superior energy retrieval. You know, that's going to be step 1 here to trying to combat what Sebastian's putting together, is to force him to have those recovery cards and the Rare Candy Charizard plus the Briar. It's not a guarantee. You've got some pieces locked up for sure thanks to Forest Seal Stone and Quick Search, but we'll still need to have a couple other pieces to make everything happen.
Now, what would be funny is if Jason actually doesn't manage to get the KO because the Energy Search Pro is not found, then Sebastian wouldn't be able to win next turn, right? Because Charizard just wouldn't be able to do enough damage. The Thornton is gone, and there's no option to use a Duskull in order to increase your damage output, right? So I think Sebastian might be almost rooting for Jason to take this KO, and then he's ready to go with the win next turn. I think he has all the pieces he needs, thanks to the V-Star power still being available, but we'll have to see what Jason can pull off. Of course, did find Puffin, can establish potential win condition with Togekiss and Dusknoir and whatnot, but things not looking too great to just be able to respond to his Charizard, which requires, what, 8 energy, right? 1 to attach, 7 to deal 350 damage?
It's a lot. It is definitely a resource investment. But, I mean, on the other side here, if Jason's not taking a knockout, what is he really doing in a spot like this? You could, of course, try and, over the next 2 turns, go for Rare Candy Togekiss and flip heads, of course, off that ability to take an extra prize card in the Charizard. But with how things stand, I think Jason, if he wants to, could take this knockout. Has the Irida, can find one of the remaining 2 superior energy retrievals in the deck. And from there, can also get a Manaphy to discard. Looks like already has just a lot of pieces in the hand, does already have those energy retrievals, so could even be considering finding another card that either just gets these energies out of the deck or just a card to discard. And this is so funny, Pablo. The Energy Surge Pro hasn't been played yet. If Jason were to finally use that ace spec, it would just get a single energy. It'd be worse than Earthen Vessel.
Yeah, it would just be a regular energy search, right? Just like we saw Trolley earlier in the day used for a single basic. It was basically a Nespel at that point.
We're seeing really how some of these ace specs, of course, have their specific place where they're solid, but if they're not used by a certain threshold, they lose a lot of their value, really making the argument for why Prime Catcher is just such a solid card. This is going to be a costly superior energy retrieval, though. Rare Candy going to the discard pile will get back the remaining basic energy from the discard pile, but are there even enough energies here to take?
I think we have 7 in hand, so we need 1 more. We need to use Night Stretcher to get back that metal energy, and then Jason will be left without a single card in his hand.
We are truly making it rain out here. Get rid of
Big
that whole
7.
rainbow of energies. Big knockout from Jason. He is just 2 prize cards away, but if Sebastian can, of course, find all the pieces he needs, like you said, this is a very winnable spot. Let's see if he has everything he needs to finish this.
So the sequencing here is going to be very interesting because, of course, you have Serendipity, you have Ultra Ball to potentially search for the Charizard. You don't want to draw the Fire Energy. That would actually be really bad. And there's the Fire Energy. So now, drawing that Fire Energy might have stopped Sebastian from pulling this off.
Yeah, I mean, look, you've got 2 guaranteed cards. If you grab Rare Candy Charizard, I mean, look, the Ultra Ball's there, so you could have Charizard guaranteed. If you use one of the cards to search out Rare Candy and the other card to search out Briar, you don't necessarily have that. However, let's not forget that Lumineon V is in the discard pile. So Night Stretcher could guaranteed get that Briar from the deck, and then that means if the 2 cards searched out are both the Rare Candy and the Super Rod, then that means I think there's all the resources there. Let's see if Sebastian has what he needs to close this game out.
I think you had them all, right? You just need Rare Candy, Charizard, and Briar. And Sebastian had Quick Search for Seal Stone and had the Ultra Ball for the Charizard. So I think he already had everything in his hand, and he needed the Fire Energy to be in the deck. The Briar is not prized, so he had everything. So using that Serendipity, could have made him not win this turn and might have to resort to a change of plans. Iono plus Radiant Charizard. And we're hoping for the Super Rod here or the Rare Candy. That way you can quick search for the other. No, the Briar is discarded. So that Serendipity ends up.
I mean, unless I'm missing something here, Pablo, right? The 2 cards were guaranteed. That could just be Rare Candy and the Super Rod. And then let's not forget, you could have used the Stretcher to grab back Lumineon to find the Briar.
Yeah, or the energy. So the Stretcher had to be energy. There was only 1 left in the deck, and you needed 2 for Charizard, right? So you Rare Candy to Charizard, you get the 1 from the deck, you Stretcher back the other one.
Either way.
Yeah,
either it's the Super Rod to put the energies back, right? You use that card since you have the guaranteed supporter with the Stretcher for Lumineon.
Yeah.
Or you grab it other way. The whole point is both those options were available, and instead Sebastian did the one option that didn't get him there at all, Pokestopping to just discard away that Briar. And yes, Charizard, Radiant Charizard can take this knockout, but now Jason's going to have multiple ways to win this game. Rare Candy Togekiss heads flip, a boss's orders or a counter. There is now a lot of options here for Jason to be right back in this game.
Now, it will be an Iono 2-2, so let's not count Sebastian out by any means, right? Iono 2-2 with no Goldengo in play, only the Pokestop to rely on. It's not going to be easy by any means, and setting up your Goldengo and Rare Candy Togekiss and enough cards to discard for a superior energy retrieval, which a single one is not enough. You need more than that because you need 1 energy to attach, 4 energy to discard to KO the Radiant Charizard or a counter catcher KO on Rotom. That's still asking for a lot.
Just a miss there for Sebastian. If he had, seen that line, saw it was possible, then this game is over and we're not even having a sweat going to this final game. Sebastian, of course, does still have what seems like control, actually not even going to play the Iono, just taking the knockout for the turn. And here we go. actions on Jason. Pokestop still in play. We'll start the turn off with Pokestop. He's going to go ahead and slowly reveal them. There's the Night Stretcher. Okay, at minimum, that could get back the Goldengo EX and does also have a lot of other strong pieces. The Superior Energy Retrieval, the Radiant Greninja was taken off the prizes, and you can, of course, get the one remaining energy card thanks to Energy Search Pro. Look,
Energy
Pablo.
Search not so pro.
Energy Search mid, I guess.
Energy Search mid in this case.
I know the haters are loving this right now. So here we go for Jason. Does have the Dark Energy, and look, there's a combination of cards Jason can draw into to make this happen.
Yeah.
This is step number one, right? We see the concealed cards. That's the
huge.
Cypher Maniac.
That's Counter Catcher, right?
I think that might be everything. The question is there enough cards in the hand to discard with the Superior Energy Retrieval? I think there is. I think Jason has found what he needs to win this game. Can grab the Counter Catcher and potentially even another Superior Energy Retrieval, and the Goldengo is guaranteed thanks to the Night Stretcher in the hand. I think he's got everything here he needs to close this game out and win game one.
Yeah, because you can play one Superior Energy Retrieval, get 4 energies, and then you can discard 2 of those to get the 4 others. And then you have the knockout on that Rotom. I think we're going to see Jason be the winner here if he pieces everything out correctly, which Sebastian had to win last turn. Didn't do the right things at the right time, so now there's always that possibility, right? But let's see. Jason going to put the 2 cards at the top, Stretcher for the Goldengo, draw those 2 cards. You can see how, like, he's hesitating as well. Is that a Night Stretcher instead?
Sorry. Yeah, you get to shuffle the
I think either way, he's got double S Superior Energy Retrieval. He just puts the Superior Energy Retrieval and the other card on top, as long as that should be there.
All right, that's
Let's
Goldengo.
see everything. And as we've learned with this set, Pablo, nothing is over till it's over. So here's the Night Stretcher, draw 2.
It was a Nice Stretcher.
But
so
that's still going to be enough,
5
though.
energies.
It
It's
still
5
works.
energies. 4 from the Superior. Has a Nice Stretcher. That's 5 energies. Counter Catcher, KO Rotom, 200 damage. And that's going to be the game for Jason. Wins game 1.
What a complete flip. Sebastian had it right there in his hands. If he had, looked through that there, I have to wonder, he used that Forest Seal Stone so late. It's just, naturally habit for Charizard players a lot of the time to not have access to Forest Seal Stone so late. The only thing I could think is maybe Sebastian in his head is thinking that isn't an option for him at that point, because he was, again, 1 piece short, 1 piece away. This is the big thing here for Sebastian. He's not out of this set, but that has to be a big blow to your mental thinking about that game. And you see both players discussing what had happened.
And now let's take a look at all the action that happened in the first game. We have our replay ready. We had quite an interesting match here. I think we even did a little bit extra damage onto a Duskull discarding 3 energy. I'm not sure if I caught that right. But yeah, that hit on the Goldengo, giving your opponent a prize card, setting up the Briar play. Jason responding with that whole hand discard of 7 energy total, and then that energy draw off of the Fezandipity, and then the discard of the Briar just meant it was impossible for Sebastian to win in the previous turn, and Jason was able to piece everything out perfectly with that Superior Energy Retrieval, getting 4 energies, and the Night Stretcher and the Counter Catcher combining to KO the Rotom.
What a clutch way to win game number 1 as we shuffle up into game 2. Sebastian, of course, will have the option of whether or not to go first or second. Sebastian will once again go first. He was off to, a little bit of a slower start than usual with Charizard. Usually on that turn 2, you want to be having Rare Candy Pidgeot and Rare Candy Charizard to, at least put some damage on your opponent's side. Didn't quite have that option, so we'll see if he maybe adjusts his game plan to be a little bit more aggressive, or if he continues to prioritize that strong setup early on.
Now he knows exactly what he's up against, not playing it any safe. We see him putting the prize cards onto the side, like that's muscle memory, right? Like, it's what you do for most of the rounds. On stream, of course, we put them on the camera so we can take a look and everyone can see how dreadful or how great those prizes can be. And we do see the Forest Seal Stone being prized even.
So here we go. We are getting into this game number 2. That was a long game 1, Pablo. 25 minutes off the clock, and I know both these players are hungry for a win. It's going to be no easy task for either of these players to close things out. We saw how close that first game was. I'm sure we're in for another treat, and definitely a nice sight here for Jason. Starting that Radiant Greninja will make his setup a lot more consistent.
Radiant Greninja, an integral piece for Goldango decks. Now we saw a Duskull available, but not choosing to be benched by Sebastian. So interesting decision there, as we're going to see Jason, a handful of energies, almost like he used Energy Search Pro already, debating whether to conceal cards first or Puffin first.
I think maybe he wants to just draw into some more basic Pokemon before taking them out of the deck with the Buddy Buddy Poffin. Not getting the best draws, just will be a Night Stretcher and what seemed to be a Manaphy. So at minimum, Jason will still have a solid turn, gets down these 2 Gimme Ghoul, and has yet to use that Pokestop. We saw how clutch that stadium was for Jason in that first game.
Don't think we're going to be seeing too much Togekiss action. Of course, setting up Togekiss is amazing, right? But it does require you to dedicate resources and search towards that. And sometimes you need it to win the game, other times you don't, as we saw in the previous turn. So definitely need to focus on those gimme goals. And now with Sebastian not benching the Duskull, Jason knows that at least one of them, even if there is a Rare Candy Charizard KO, there's not going to be a threat for both of them.
And that's a very nice find off the Pokestop, getting rid of an energy. And Cypher Maniac's never the best, but it means you're going to have a full bench on this next turn. Sebastian can still threaten that turn 2 Rare Candy Charizard. It's always something to think about. However, if you're not getting Pidgeot set up and you prioritize being too aggressive, we can really see that come back to bite a lot of these Charizard players.
Oh, now we do see no third Duskull. We're seeing the 2-1-1 backup lines for Jason, giving him access to an extra knockout, possibly deny Pidgeot in the future turns with that Curse Blast from Dusknoir, and potential extra prizes with Togekiss. So Jason really trying to attack from all angles if possible.
Action back on Sebastian. What does he have he can work with here? Does have that Luminion V in hand. Of course, it will be that Luminous Sign ability to search out any supporter card. And take a quick look through the deck. We haven't actually done a deck search yet. We see the Arven immediately brought to the front, and it looks like the Forest Seal Stone, a big piece for these Charizard decks to get set up early on, is in the prize cards. A devastating blow, especially if Sebastian wanted to put on solid aggression while not compromising his board setup this turn.
Yeah, usually you'd want the Forest Seal Stone and a Puffin, right? And then you'll troll for a Charizard, and you're able to attack whilst establishing your bench further, but that's not going to be the case. So now Sebastian needs to choose to either Puffin for more setup and then Rotom, use Instant Charge in order to get extra cards and get set up, or will need to dedicate this Arven into a Rare Candy, will be able to attack, but will not have the best backup situation for him.
So it will still be the Arven, does grab that Buddy Buddy Puffin, like you mentioned, and the Defiance Band will actually fill the bench up with both Duskull and Pidgey, so Pablo only leaving 2 Charmander in play. I wonder here if Sebastian could potentially pivot out this Charmander from the active spot, since that, can always be a scary concern if your opponent has a pop-off turn where they can use that Cursed Blast ability, knock the bench Pokemon out, and then attack the active and eliminate Charizard as a potential option the following turn.
Doesn't feel great to be a Charizard player starting your turn with no Charmanders in play, does it? Now, that is a lot of cards you need, right? You need an energy to retreat, enough energy to attack, a Goldango, a Rare Candy, Dusknoir, but this deck does draw a lot of cards, so definitely could be possible.
Well, there's piece number 1, Rare Candy already in the hand. However, the rest of the hand is not looking too solid, just a lot of energy cards, Night Stretcher, so we're starting things off with concealed cards. Let's see if luck is on Jason's side. What does he draw into? It is the Togekiss, so has Rare Candy Togekiss. As it stands right now, that could also be a way for him to take 2 prize cards in this situation, get lucky, flip heads, but this turn is far from over. We'll see that Pokestop, it does get rid of a counter catcher as well as a nest ball. There's one big piece missing, and that's Goldango currently from this hand.
Yeah, we were all rooting to discard a Goldango so we could Night Stretcher it back. Interesting that the Earthen Vessel was not used to Thin first, in order to increase the chances of discarding a Goldango, but we're going to see the Togekiss hit the board finally, so that Wonder Kiss ability is now online, except we're not going to see a knockout this turn.
So we'll still choose to play the Rare Candy, put the Togekiss in play. Wonder Kiss, such a scary ability. Even though there's a beautiful smile in the Togekiss, it is nothing but that is an evil Pokemon right there, allowing you to take extra prize cards if you flip heads when knocking out your opponent's active Pokemon. And there's actually a cool quirk, which is that if you knock out a Pokemon with Dusknoir in the active spot, that ability still triggers.
Also triggers, yeah, so you could get an extra flip that way for sure. Yeah, that Wonder Kiss ability, I really feel like it just came out. I feel like Togekiss within the next 2 or 3 years, when it's legal, we're definitely going to see more of it as time goes on, as we have rotations and new cards helping support it or helping set it up. I really think Togekiss is one that will make waves in the future.
Gives off, Jirachi Prism Star vibes. That's
Yeah,
another card that didn't see
exactly.
play till the end of its lifespan in terms of competitive viability. Never count cards out in the Pokemon TCG. One expansion, one new edition can change everything. So Jason, missing a beat back in return, not taking any knockouts, did, of course, get that Togekiss established. And we are starting things off immediately with a Pokestop. They have not been on Sebastian's side. Of course, his deck is not built to use the Pokestop that well. It's always a risk you take. You just hope you at least get some value off using a powerful stadium like Pokestop.
That's so rough because Sebastian could have also Ultra Balled for that Charmeleon, but now it's in the discard pile. Therefore, we need to Super Rod it back, but we know Super Rods are so crucial. We have to 2-row the Luminion just to be able to do something potentially next turn. So it's like we're playing a game of chicken here between both players. Neither of them taking any initiative, not because they don't want to, right? Both players would love to be already swinging into each other. However, yeah, this is just difficult. It's not happening yet.
Feeling a little bit embarrassed by my Charizard pick right now, I must say. For the
Definitely not being a powerful, mean dragon that we all expected to be.
Well, the Dragon's currently nowhere to be found here for Sebastian. We'll just take another turn to instant charge. Jason, do you finally have a Goldengo? Something to make this work.
Nope.
Breathing in a big sigh. Gonna rely off another concealed cards. Do we finally see Goldengo? And we do see it, as well as that Cypher Maniac, which can be combined excellently with the Pokestop that's already in play.
We could actually see a 4-prize turn at this point if a heads flip happens with the Dusknoir. If that's set up and then a knockout on the active, Jason could put himself 4 prizes ahead at this point.
Yes, of course, does also have the energy cards already on the Gimme Ghoul, so can attach for turn to retreat this Greninja, evolve into the active, and, this Pokestop, I'm actually not sure if it's been used yet this turn, so... so the Pokestop has not yet been used. We're actually just going to see the coin bonus draw 2 before anything. So choosing to wait here to use that Cypher Maniac, potentially in combination with that Pokestop.
Another Cypher Maniac, really eager to be played. Now, if you put, for example, Rare Candy and Dusknoir, then you discard the Dusknoir, you have to dedicate a Night Stretcher back. It does seem like it's worth it, though. You could potentially be 4 prizes ahead by the end of this turn if you're Jason.
And it looks like that is exactly the game plan on Jason's mind. Additionally, you could, now that Charmander has been replaced with the Lumineon, instead you could use something like the Rare Candy, or excuse me, you're going to want to use that on the active, of course, because we just talked about it there. You could always consider going after the Pidgey, but, you got to take risks. Jumping ahead to a 4-prize lead would be, almost insurmountable, even for a deck like Charizard. That's going to be very difficult.
I mean, you can, right? You can just Curse Blast the Pidgey. And there's your coin flip, and then just attack the active. And, I mean, you can't deny the possibility of Charizard, because there's 3 of them, but you can't deny your opponent the Pidgeot, which now they have, like, what, a 15-card hand? So I figured it's worth it. We'll see what Jason ends up choosing here. I couldn't tell exactly what the 2 cards were as we were discussing, so we'll have to see what happens.
Well, that's the biggest issue, right, is the Togekiss ability only works on the active
The
Pokemon.
active, that's my bad. It's not as good as I thought it was.
Yeah. It's still a good ability,
Still
but
pretty
if
good.
it was from anywhere, right, Trifrost would just be ridiculous with that card. You just get to flip 3 coins, so... Here we go. Jason's going to play that second Rare Candy down. Here's the Dusknoir, and now comes the choice. We're going after the active. Here we go, Pablo. Big flips. Do we see a heads? Extra prize card. If so, tails, nothing else. It's a tails.
All right. 1 prize for each player. Not too bad, right? An even exchange. And now we're about to see the second coin flip. We do need to play a Superior Energy Retrieval, as we don't have any energy currently in hand. But yeah, I mean, decent attempt.
Yeah, I think the thought process here is what do you want to discard? I feel like Nest Ball really doesn't have a lot of great value at this point. There's
Yeah.
really nothing else to get now that you just discarded that Pheasantipity, but instead Jason's going to hold on to that instead, getting rid of the counter catcher instead. So Jason will have the energies needed to take this knockout, and we're going again. We are believing in Togekiss, or not, depending on whose side you're rooting for. Heads means an extra prize card. Tails will be the knockout as per normal. And here we go. Flip number 2. Do we see
Kiss.
the extra prize card? The anticipation is building. It's a heads. That is why Togekiss is just so strong. Extra prize card for Jason. The entire dynamic has shifted as he is now just 3 prize cards away from ending out day 1 at 7 wins, 1 loss, and 1 draw.
Jason, 1 knockout away from a Charizard EX, right? Sebastian might need to shift plans again and try to use Radiant Charizard just to prevent the possibility of him losing next turn. So very, very clutch Wonder Kiss flip. And I mean, it was 2 flips, 1 heads, 1 tails. That's pretty fair, right? That's what you would expect to happen.
Yeah, about average, right? 50%, so nothing bad at all. You know, things could always shift both ways. We did earlier see 5 tails flips in a row. Now, I'm sure that's not something any player would want, especially with a card like Togekiss. We'll see what Sebastian can do. Don't count him out yet. He's got Nest Ball for Pheasantipity, and with so many cards already in the hand, if Sebastian's got a plan, he can essentially execute it with all these resources at his disposal.
Yeah, the Radiant Charizard did get discarded off of that Pokestop. However, does have Super Rod, has Ultra Ball, so Sebastian playing with his whole deck in his hand pretty much at this point. Can do everything he needs, and I would definitely say Radiant Charizard has got to be the plan here. Otherwise, you risk potentially losing next turn.
Yeah, and there is a world, right, where, you know, a Tails flip happens from the Togekiss. They knock out the Radiant Charizard, they stay at 2 prizes, and then the Briar play becomes a possibility again. So it is still a very winnable game for Sebastian, I'm sure. That now, after that first game, will not make any mistakes, trying to, of course, capitalize on every situation that he can. Pidgeot EX will finally be online, thanks to that rare candy item card, the bread and butter, the backbone of this Stage 2 Charizard deck. And now the next question, Pablo, what will the supporter card of choice be? You see that Arven being separated from the hand, can of course grab an item card, and that will be the choice here for Sebastian. What will he search after?
Eyeing up a Nest Ball in order to recover the Radiant Charizard, I'm guessing, after it's Super Rodded back into the deck. Yep, there's a Super Rod, there's the Radiant Charizard. Would like to see the Charmeleon. Maybe not. No, never mind. Charmeleon is not, you need to rare candy into Charizard this turn, so never mind. You don't need Charmeleon, you don't need extra Charmanders either. The game is going to be over pretty quick. You need to use those 2 Pokemon now. One issue that Sebastian could run into is the Professor Turo being gone could make it difficult to get that Radiant Charizard out of the active spot in case it survives.
So just enough energy cards in the deck here for Sebastian. A lot of those energies in the hand. So that Infernal Rain will accelerate 2 to the Radiant Charizard. And thanks to that Excited Heart ability, can just attack for 2 fire energy, enough to knock out Goldengo, thanks to weakness with its Combustion Blast attack.
We're probably going to see a follow-up of that on first stamp to attack Jason's hand, bring it down to a more manageable size, though also taking a look at what else we need to get rid of or thin. I could also see the Lost Vacuum being used to deny the Pokestop just to limit my opponent's options as much as possible, but we're going to keep that in play. We're going to value the use of it later down the line.
Yeah, sort of as the game progresses and more Pokestops are being used, you know, your opponent could get rid of all the other Pokestop from their deck naturally. So could just be, you know, that final straw on the final turn of the game with an Iono to try and disrupt Jason as much as possible from winning this game. It's still anyone's game, Pablo, as we're at just over 11 minutes left in this round.
There's a Lost Vacuum popping up again after the on first stamp, but you're right, yeah, limiting. I mean, right now with Goldengo's coin bonus ability, with Radiant Greninja, Jason will probably be able to recover whether there's a Pokestop or not in play rather.
So here we go. Sebastian responding in kind, taking the 2 prize knockout. We are tied up at 3 in terms of prize cards this turn. Jason has gotten rid of a few solid resources at this point. Did get rid of that 1 counter catcher. These are not a bad 3 cards to have, though. Does have Night Stretcher already in hand, a basic energy, and a Goldengo. And now Pheasantipity comes down into play. Flip the Script provides so much consistency for Jason to refill the hand and get back into this game.
Pheasantipity might be one of the most impactful cards in the game right now. That ability protecting you from disruption, right? That's its only job. Make sure that disruption hurts you the least possible. And we see how crucial it is. But if used in the wrong manner, it can be costly as well.
So there is the concealed cards. We have not seen any coin bonus be used yet. There is another Goldengo in the hand that can be evolved to the bench. Let's see this Pokestop. Does get rid of the Irida, but does find, Rare Candy, Lost Vacuum. At worst, those could always be cards you just discard with something like Superior Energy Retrieval. Not the end of the world.
We still have coin bonus from the bench and also from the active. Now, because the Professor Turo is right here, Jason, unless he suspects that there could be a Palbad, doesn't need to take a KO this turn. I mean, I think it's in his best interest if he does, but if he chooses not to, Sebastian would be forced, if he wants to continue with the pressure, to retreat that Radiant Charizard. That could be a little costly. However, it would open up the possibility for Sebastian to use Dusknoir, KO the Radiant Greninja, and then just KO for a game. So never mind, that seems like a terrible plan.
Yeah, just the fact that it's already dealing enough damage, even tied on prize cards, means it might not be the best approach here.
Well, but I guess you can't stop that anyways. Maybe force your opponent to have the energy for retreat and then try to find your boss to win next turn off the Wonder Kiss coin flip.
Yep.
If you take a knockout,
I'm going
Sebastian just needs the Dusknoir, right? Quick search for Dusknoir, that's it.
Well, that's the issue, right? Is if you flip heads here on
but if
Togekiss,
you
you
flip
go
heads,
to one
yeah, you're
prize
right.
card and you can't use the Dusknoir. I think the big question here is I don't even know if Jason has enough energy cards in the hand to knock out Radiant Charizard. Thanks to having 160 HP, would need 4 energy cards from the hand. And without a Superior Energy Retrieval, I don't know if we're there. Actually, we haven't seen the supporter be used for turn yet. It is that Cypher Maniac.
We
And I
just
think we
lost
might be
Vacuum,
going
the
for this.
Pokestop. We have another one available, so yeah.
And look at that, still has all of those Superior Energy Retrievals left in the deck. Just, energy is not going to be a problem here for Jason in this game. What could be a problem, though, is whether or not this Togekiss is able to, use that Wonder Kiss ability to get Jason another prize card and, again, shut Sebastian down from some potential lines that could win him the game.
It could be heads I win, tails you win. It really could come down to that.
All right, we're going to see Energy Search Pro be used, so...
Or one energy again.
Just gonna grab
Energy search
the
mid.
one energy. We did see one get discarded off that final card from the Pokestop. Are there enough energy cards available? I actually
No.
don't think there are, because the third card, the only one not guaranteed off Pokestop, was the Fire Energy. It means that this play has left Jason 1 energy short. He has been punished for doing this exact play. Trying to get use out of his ace spec has potentially cost him a knockout in this game.
Yeah, instead of just going for the Superior Energy Retrieval guaranteeing, right? You definitely have plenty of excess cards to discard, so yeah, there definitely would have been more than enough to pull this off.
And all of a sudden, everything is just going completely back and forth. It is absolute pandemonium here in game number 2. I don't know how things are going to finish out with how this series has gone. We went from Jason potentially being a coin flip away from shutting down all the Dusknoir lines to now potentially not even being able to knock out this Radiant Charizard. I have no idea what is going on in this second game, Pablo.
And then if Jason doesn't take this knockout, right, as he just passed, right, now Sebastian needs 2 cards, Energy and Dusknoir. He does have the Ultra Ball, does have Briar as well, which is not necessary. I mean, that's a win. You just Ultra Ball for Dusknoir, quick search for the Energy, and that should be it, right? Unless there's a piece prize. I don't see the pieces being prized, so...
Is there an energy card in the prize cards? That's the big thing. Plays 4 energy and does have the energy card at the bottom. And is the Dusknoir in there? It is.
Yeah, there it is.
Let's see,
That's
Sebastian finds it here. There's the quick search for the Fire Energy and the Ultra Ball for Dusknoir. This has been a back and forth series, but one thing's for certain here, Pablo. We are going to a 3rd game. Thank you, Curse Blast. I'll take that extra prize card. You can take one too, but these last 2 prizes are mine. Sebastian will close out game number 2. We are going to game 3 here in round 9.
I think you can see the fatigue perhaps getting to both players, not getting that Superior Energy Retrieval here on Jason's side, and then the previous game, Sebastian trying to piece out everything, but drawing that crucial energy. And I mean, Jason just drew another crucial energy to not get that KO, right? So those Fire Energies being the last card each time has been pretty crucial for both players. What a coincidence.
What a coincidence indeed. we're getting into 6 minutes of this final round, and you know, this is a point in time where I think both players kind of understand the nature of the clock, understand what potentially might happen. Now, let's also make sure we don't forget those prize cards on the side there. Yeah, you're going to want to play with a 60-card deck. We still got time. With how this series has played out, Pablo, we could see a wild ending to this one, that's for sure.
Very little time left. Of course, both players are already in day 2, so a tie wouldn't put either of them out. But of course, 3 match points is such a huge difference when you have these shorter top 8s heading into the asymmetrical top cuts.
So we'll see the prize cards here. Nothing super relevant here, just a couple of energy cards. 2 superior energy retrieval. Not great here, of course, you know, on the right side. And we are going to just get into this third game potentially. It looks like we are just double checking something, making sure, you know, everything is okay between both of our players. We'll make sure, of course, we do have this game 3 set up in the best possible way. It looks like we are actually checking back on potentially an action that happened in the first game here, rather the second game after using Nest Ball for Pheasantipity. We'll have to, of course, make sure we figure everything out in this situation, but that is sort of, you know, one of the luxuries we have of playing these high-stakes matches on stream. We, of course, do have the ability to go back and replay, see some of the things that went down, and make sure everything has happened correctly in this third game.
Now, we just saw a very different game 2, I want to say. Like, both players missed attack for so many turns, right? Gholdengo wasn't able to get a Gholdengo. Charizard wasn't able to get a rare candy at all whatsoever because the Force Seal Stone was prized. So I would love to see a little bit more aggression in this game. Some more back and forth attacking between each other, because how many instant charges did we see in last game? Was it 4 or 5, I think?
Too many. I love Rotom, but that was too much for even for my heart to handle. We're not playing block lax out here. We should not be using that brother more than 2 times. But, you know, Sebastian did everything he could, and, you know, to the luck on both players' sides, some things going right, some things going wrong. You know, it really has been the memo of this series. These final turns, literally the last possible turn for both those players, just these small mistakes, these small margins of errors have costed them huge percentage points in the game. Essentially things not being wrapped up by any means. That second game, you know, would come down to the Togekiss flip. You know, There's always the threat of Iono bring Charizard up, go ahead and find 8 energy. Nothing's ever guaranteed, but it makes things very difficult for things to play out. We'll hopefully get into this third game, figure out the whole resolution for this situation.
Yeah, very back and forth for sure. Like, both players were stalling out a little bit, and then once they got going, they didn't miss a beat in terms of their deck, right? The Pokestops were hitting, the Pheasantipities were great, but overall, those final, that final moment, right, which is very understandable. And I mean, we, from our top-down analysis, right, we have a broader view of the game, we have access to players' deck lists and whatnot, so there's many factors that come into this. And we are also very prone to making mistakes, right? We could be thinking something that, or maybe we missed something. We think that line is crucial with the Briar, and then it wasn't possible. Not so sure, right? So we're just trying to give the best analysis possible. But of course, things happening in the table can change within the second.
It's so easy, right, from our perspective.
Yeah.
We see everyone's hands, we see everything that's happening to objectively say, oh, this is the right play or the wrong play, or why didn't the player do that? But we forget it sometimes about all the other aspects that go into playing, right?
Of course.
The white noise, the pressure of being on stream. I mean, especially for some of these players, you know, Sebastian's been on the stream before, but this is Jason's first time coming on the stream.
Yeah.
It can be a nerve-wracking experience no matter, you know, how confident you are in your game plan or your deck. You now have to be judged by, you know, Twitch chat, YouTube, all the viewers. Of course, us, most important, right? Let's not forget about that, right? But, you know, being serious, it's a high-stakes environment, no matter how you want to look at it. Sometimes even, you know, top players who have been on stream multiple times say they still get nerves going on the stream and playing over and over again.
Yeah, and even on the stream, outside of the stream, like, it can happen at any moment. No one plays a game of perfect Pokemon every single game, every single round. That's very, very difficult, almost impossible, right? So things are bound to get out of your control, perhaps. You forgot something, you missed something, right? If you're not taking notes, sometimes you can forget what you priced, right? I've definitely been in many situations where I play an S-Ball or an Ultra Ball, I'm just hoping the card isn't priced because I just don't remember if it was priced or not.
I don't think we can do that necessarily. I watched him take his headphones off and kind of looked in we're in the middle of the match here, all right? We'll have someone bring some water over to you if you need something to drink. We'll make sure these players obviously are hearing the situation out. Both will be seated. Figure out what the resolution is, again, to a spot like this. Everything was building up for that Game 3. I mean, this is truly a great display in Pokemon, how one decision, one mistake even, right, if you want to give it that objective term, can cost you games, can shift the narrative, and how what we've been preaching this entire weekend is the most important thing when it comes to playing Pokemon, at least currently. It's not the deck you play, it's not the exact 60 cards you play, but it's how well you understand what actions to take with your deck every single turn.
I wholeheartedly agree. There was actually a little bit of a debate online after I shared some thoughts similar to that. Like for me, it's 80% your actions within a game, 10% deck choice, 10% luck. A lot of players, especially some of the top players, disagreed, which I can completely understand. Like at the very top level, if both players are so evenly matched in their decision making, that it's the deck list or the luck that ends up being a bigger factor, right? You can't control luck, but you can control the contents of your deck. So the contents of your deck can matter so much more at the highest level of play, right? Where every little detail makes a huge difference. But overall, if you're trying to get your first A2, if you're trying to improve as a Pokemon player, focus on your decision making. The deck lists, they're out there. We know the decks that win every single tournament. They're tournament proven. Run with that, right? And focus on your decision making. Focus on getting the little things right, and that's going to make a big difference.
Just decks now compared to times before, right? We've had some, tier 0 formats. We've had some formats where, it's a meta triangle between 3 different decks. We are truly in a unique time for the Pokemon TCG where players and deck builders have a lot of flexibility on how they want to play their deck. There's great items and supporters that allow multiple strategies to exist. And really that surrounds on a card that almost every deck is playing right now. Buddy Buddy Puffin just allows so much creativity to exist within the format.
Now, a big shout out to Emma Hagen from Stuttgart Regional. She was featured on stream. I loved her deck. It was Pidgeot, not Control. It featured Sylveon EX. It featured the Sparkling Crystal. It featured the Wellspring Ogerpon, Farigiraf EX. So all these sort of variety attackers being able to be utilized with the Sparkling Crystal and with Crispin out of the blue. That was a big deal. I loved that deck, and the round she played, both games were amazing. Like it looked like she was gonna lose, and she ended up winning very decisively by making these really clutch plays. So as you mentioned, Buddy Buddy Puffin, Quick Search allows for a lot of these decks to run a lot of one-offs and be able to adapt to many different situations.
And what better example of a one-of than A-Spec cards being reintroduced in the Pokemon TCG? There were a lot of thoughts on A-Specs all the way back in the black and white era. We both, played through that. You, of course, more to an extent than I did. But still, seeing this second revitalization of A-Specs, how has your opinion been on those so far? What are some things that you've liked about how they've been designed and applied to decks in the Pokemon TCG?
So I really do think that one-off effects, right, such as A-Specs, such as the Radiant Pokemon, such as V-Star abilities or attacks, and GX abilities and attacks back in the day, all of those one per game effects really bring out skillful decision making, right? Of course, there's some extremely powerful ones such as Arceus, Dialga, and Palkia, which are borderline unnecessary for the game. However, there are many that are like, they allow for skillful deck building, skillful use and analysis of each situation so that you time it perfectly and you can gain an advantage. You mistime it and then you're going to be in trouble. So all of those one-time use effects, where it's an item, supporter, stadium, energy, ability, whatever it is, they're so cool to add skill to the game.
We've seen great displays in both of these decks, right? Energy Surge Pro maybe not seeing the best usage, causing even some mistakes in some points. That third game, sometimes you see the pink card in that case and you think, I've got to get use out of this card. And, it really came back to backfire for Jason in that game. And, Sebastian's had that unfair stamp. There were some times where, he had to debate whether or not it was worth using it for the shuffle drawing effect or whether or not it was worth it just because he didn't need pieces. It was more important to disrupt his opponent. Effects like that are really interesting to see, especially when they're deck-specific ones. Specifically, the sparkling crystal, one of them. There's, very unique aspects that are not seen in a lot of decks. I mean, that's really the big one. We've got a lot of very general cards. The, secret box, the prime catcher, maximum belt, I guess. Things that, work
All
against a
the old
variety
ones,
of decks. But, that kind of reminds me of the Victini crystal, for example, or, Black Kyurem had a special aspect for it too.
Genesect DX as
Absolutely, yeah. Dope G booster, can't forget about that one.
Now, the downside, right, to these single item or single use cards, right? If it's an ability such as the V-Star or the GX, those are pretty cool because you can play 4 copies of the Pokemon that uses those abilities or attacks. However, when it's specific items such as Prime Catcher, such as Precious Trolley, when it's energies or tools like Sparkling Crystal, that the downside to them being so cool and so powerful is that if you price them, all the times your deck just falls apart, right? Like if you're cutting Puffins to just play Precious Trolley, 10% of the time you're not going to be able to set up. If you are playing one Energy Surge Pro instead of 4 Earthen Vessel, 10% of the time you're going to struggle to find energies out of your deck, right? So that's the one downside in terms of deck building of having these super powerful one-of cards. So maybe in the future we could have a double ace spec or half an ace spec, whatever it is, like a card that's limited to 2 copies. Therefore, it's consistent, it's powerful, but you can't play 4 of. I would love to see something like, or something that has like a rule that says you can play 2 in your deck, but if there is 1 in your discard pile, this one does nothing. So like that would be like a balance in terms of limiting the price effect, but still having a powerful ace spec sort of style card.
Interesting. There's a lot of things that continue to be introduced in the Pokemon TCG. Let's not forget, the little teaser we got at Worlds last year. We're going to be seeing partner Pokemon come back into the TCG. I won't say how young I was when we last saw, trader Pokemon within Pokemon TCG. But hey, I guess the tag teams were the most recent example of that, partners coming together, Pokemon trainers together. We'll see how that impacts the metagame. It already looks like we're going to have cool specific archetypes to those trainers Pokemon that are going to have a big impact, as all the new expansions do, but especially those at the beginning of the block to the entire metagame.
I love how they gave Enzor just the trade ability, right?
Yeah.
Trade was so fantastic throughout a very long period of the game, and it's a few days from, well, a few months rather, from coming back into things. And yeah, I mean, if those were the revealed cards, I really have to wonder what, sorry, it's hard to concentrate with the players just acting out on stream.
Okay, hold on, we went for a 3-way tie. This is the real action right here. Are they gonna stop? Well, while we wait to see the conclusion to this rock, paper, scissors match, now we're playing patty cake. Okay, I think it's time that we bring things back to us here. Things are getting a little bit out of hand. Of course, we'll wait for everything to get resolved between this match. I just saw patty cake on the Pokemon TCG stream.
I don't even, like, I'm so old, I don't even know what.
You've never played patty cake before?
I don't think so.
Is that like an American thing? Is that crazy to say?
I've never heard the combination of patty cake.
Chat, do you know what I'm talking about? It's like, patty cake, big meat. Has no one ever heard of this before?
Not me.
That's crazy.
Not me. So, okay, how long ago were you in high school playing that?
Not in high school.
Or
this is
whatever.
Like something you do this is something you do when you're like a baby, like a child, man. I thought you were gonna ask like, how long ago were you when you were a child? Like you're making fun of how young I am.
No,
I'm
not making fun. I'm asking, at what age do you normally play that?
5 years old, man.
Okay, well, I was 5 years old 30 years ago, so if I did play it, I definitely.
How will this affect the patty cake's legacy? That's the big question to ask.
I might be older than patty cake.
That is actually really interesting to think about. Okay. Yeah, I gotta let that one sit here. I never thought I could process that as a potential fact. I guess things have changed. I guess Pokemon is not the only thing that's changed over the past 30 years.
I think so. Patty cake was invented. we got trade. We got GX attacks.
Looks like we're back to the stage here. Enough of rock, paper, scissors, and patty cake. It looks like we are reaching some sort of a resolution here as we focus back into this match. Of course, we are still reviewing what appeared to be an insufficient randomization after a nest ball was played before the script did draw some more cards. So it looks like things have been resolved. We'll get an official understanding of if there are any penalties or, you know, repercussions for either of these players. Let's just go ahead and check right now. Hopefully we'll get that informed to see where we're at in terms of the game. And it looks like Sebastian has been issued a 2 prize card penalty, for this third match. It should be 1-1, I believe. So hopefully we'll go ahead and adjust the score. We did see Sebastian still win that game, so we are in game number 3. And I mean, this is a big advantage here, Pablo. We do only have 6 minutes left on the clock, so I think if I'm Jason here, I'm going fast in the situation. You got to take advantage of whatever the circumstances are. It means that Jason will now need to take just 4 prize cards to win this game instead of the regularly required 6.
Yeah, that is a pretty big deal when you're short on time. Sebastian not even cutting the deck, so we're going to see Jason really hurry things up here, and we're going to see Sebastian, which, I mean, he won the previous game with Jason having 3 prizes remaining, right? So this doesn't put Sebastian out of the running by any means, as we're going to see a very good start for Sebastian with that raw puffin, the nest ball. Pretty good start here, and we're going to finish off with instant charge. However, that Radiant Charizard in the active, if it doesn't get KO'd, could pose a problem for Sebastian next turn.
And no supporter being played here. Sebastian's just going to fill the hand up, draw 3 with that instant charge ability, really looking for some sort of supporter. Let's see what Jason has to work with in the spot, and does have Irida. That's a great card to start things off, especially if we could see that Energy Search Pro finally get full use. And here we go, Pablo. This is what you draw up. This is how you dream of things going here with Goldengo. Using that Energy Search Pro, we're going to see how many energy this grabs. Of course, 1 of each type in the deck. It plays a whole array. Look at how many energies. Is that 8 total energies here? Let's do a quick count. That's still 6 energy cards. Does already have the attachment for turn. Big question here now for Jason. Does he have Goldengo to start firing off Make It Rain attacks?
I believe he does. He does have that in his hand. Fighting energy is prized, and the other energy, the darkness energy, is in his hand, or the water. I'm not sure which type it is, but he already has those available, or that one available. So we're going to see a very big knockout. Need to see the Greninja into play before we see the concealed cards, but off to the races here. The only missing piece here, I guess, would be Rare Candy into Dusknoir, so that you can take 2 prizes and be essentially 1 KO from winning this game.
Yeah, you could even just knock out both Charmanders. That would completely or potentially eliminate the ability to make something happen. Now, of course, there is, you know, certain pieces prized. Now, let's not forget, both of those Gusting cards are in the prize cards for Jason. Did prize both the boss's orders and the counter catcher in this spot. So we're going to see that attachment for turn. We'll just go ahead and evolve into the bench Goldengo. And we'll see the rest of this turn get played out. Of course, can still draw some more cards. Does find that superior energy retrieval, but I'm not sure there's a Rare Candy and a Dusknoir in his hand.
No, there isn't. There is a Pokestop which could be utilized, but just going to go for the clean knockout here on the Radiant Charizard. 3 minutes on the clock. I think if Dusknoir gets established, time to get a Charizard knockout next turn or Rotom KO next turn, Jason could walk away the winner, but let's not count Sebastian out. We'll be able to establish Pidgeot here, I think, off of that Luminion, but can he also set up Charizard? He can. He already has the Pidgeot in his hand.
So here we go. Luminion comes down, grabbing the Arven. We are going quick here, Pablo. Filling the bench up for Sealstone, plus Rare Candy Pidgeot, plus that Quick Search and Star Alchemy means we'll see Rare Candy Pidgeot, Rare Candy Charizard, or instead going to go for a disruptive aspect. Sebastian knows there's a lot of powerful pieces, including those energy cards in the hand. So Sebastian looks like is just going to play everything out, play the Super Rod, and then finish things off with an Unfair Stamp, and even going to play Counter Catcher on the Radiant Greninja to hopefully, if a Charizard EX is found, take a knockout in response and shut off concealed cards.
I would have loved to see that Duskull get brought up in order to take away the option of the Dusknoir next turn, so that Jason cannot win the game in case he's able to piece everything out together. Now, we could also be seeing Sebastian try to play to the tie, right? Knowing that there's very little time left and just trying to make sure that Jason can't attack in back-to-back turns by bringing up that Greninja. Now that that Energy Search Pro is gone, finding energies again could be problematic.
Does not find any ways to get Charizard EX into play, though. Of course, would need the rare candy as well. Does have that Force Seal Stone, but would need either the rare candy or the rare candy or the Charizard in hand. The fact that there's neither of those pieces means that this Force Seal Stone really cannot be utilized as well as it should be, is instead just going to hold onto it for the time being and end the turn with another instant charge. We have seen a potentially record-breaking amount of instant charges this game in terms of how many Sebastian has used.
1 minute on the clock, and Jason really thinking things through, trying to piece everything out. Does have a Cypher Maniac in hand, so can utilize that to just get more resources out, get whatever he might want. Even Rare Candy Dustar potentially to just take a single knockout this turn. I'm guessing he wishes he had played down that Pokestop right about now.
Pokestop would definitely have been a solid card to get. Maybe there's a world where that is one of the 2 cards you could grab in a spot like this. Does have the Night Stretcher, so can draw into these cards thanks to the Concealed Cards ability. And I think it's just thinking right now, what do I want to get in this spot? Is this going to be the rare candy and potentially another card? Didn't quite see what that looked like here. I think we're just debating exactly what's happening in this spot, thinking about grabbing the Night Stretcher instead here. Jason really is just not sure what these 2 cards are supposed to be in this spot.
I mean, under time pressure.
Oh,
and,
not in the hand, not in the hand.
Yep, not in the hand.
Yeah.
We see a lot of energy, right? Superior Energy Retrieval and Rescue Stretcher. Time has been called now, so Jason will be turn 0.
I can push to the 4.
I think players are just discussing at this point to see
Not this turn,
what
but
they
like
can
next
do
turn.
to win this game. Jason, of course, does have the ability to only need to take 3 more prize cards to win this game.
Night
So
Stretcher
here we
for
go,
an
gonna
energy
play out this
energy
entire turn. So we'll see Night Stretcher into concealed cards. That finds 2 pieces, but I mean, what is the plan here at this point? We can play another Night Stretcher to get another energy to retreat. So now we go into the Goldango. Raiding Greninja stays in play. And now we can at least use some coin bonus abilities. So hey, you never know. Could get lucky in a spot like this. Drawing 2 cards off the first coin bonus. Does have a second coin bonus ability. So as things stand right now, oh, not 2 cards.
It's just one. It's just one. That top card.
Not how we want to see things end here. See a difference in play, drawing an extra card. This game 3 has just been madness back and forth. We could potentially see now both players playing to see who gets to take 4 prize cards before the other.
Yeah.
There's so much to digest here, Pablo.
Yeah, I mean, if this is a double price penalty as well, then Sebastian does have 2 turns, right? Jason is turn 0, Sebastian will be turn 1, then turn 2, then turn 3. If he gets 2 prizes, that could be how Sebastian wins. So, I mean, even playing field, I guess.
Wow. This has not been an exciting game in terms of action, but in terms of things that should not be happening in action. This is part of the nature of competitive Pokemon TCG. You know, both players, you've got to, see from their perspective, it's got to be a nerve-wracking situation. There's a lot of pressure. I mean, especially if you haven't been on stream before, if you're in Jason's spot. It's so easy, right, to say, how could you do that? How could you draw an extra card? But
we've all done it. We've generally all done it. From Genesect's ability, Goldango's ability, Radiant Greninja, Comfey, like you get used to the Fezandipity draw 3, or you see 1 less, or you Comfey 2 into your hand. Like, this happens to absolutely everyone, whether you're in stream, whether you're not on stream. So, yeah, and whoever says this has never happened to them, they're lying.
First to 4 prizes instead of, first to take 6 prizes in this case. There's double prize losses on both players' sides. We are now playing first to take 4 prize cards in this series. So let's not forget, Jason is currently turn 0, I believe. Unless things have changed at some reason, it looks like now the judges are indicating that Jason is currently turn 1. I see a 1 next to his dice. Unless I'm missing something, Pablo, I believe time was called.
Could be that it's 1 remaining turn after this one, and then it's 2 remaining turns.
Interesting.
Still, could be. I'm not entirely sure, but we'll get confirmation on who is turn 0 and who is turn 1.
So it looks like
this is turn 0.
So turn 0 currently is Jason. So as things stand, does have that superior energy retrieval, has brought back 4 energies to the hand. There's not much else going on. But at minimum, Jason will go down to 2 prize cards at the end of this turn. So there we go. Jason finishing off turn 0 will go down to just 2 prize cards left in order to win this game. Though it does show 4, let's not forget both players have a penalty. And now it's on Sebastian. Cannot win the game this turn. There's no world where he can take 4 prize cards with how things stand, while also, of course, letting Jason not win the game because you can't use 2 Dusknoir's Curse Blast abilities if your opponent's going to go down to 2 before you are. However, there's still plenty of disruption he can apply. That Charizard EX can be put into play. Don't count Sebastian out.
Yep, Sebastian does need to find that Defiance Band or utilize Dusclops, as you mentioned, in order to get this KO. So it could come down to Jason trying to piece out a knockout with 7 energies with Goldengo next turn. If Sebastian tries to play it a little bit on the safer side and tries to use Radiant Charizard this turn, then there's a possibility that it would be an easier knockout for Goldengo, but in order to win, would need to get Rare Candy Dusknoir to KO any of the bench. Well, that Duskull rather, it's the only Pokemon that can get KO'd. So it's another possibility. You're asking your opponent for 1 less card, right, in terms of total cards, 4 energies, Rare Candy Dusknoir, that's 6. Against Charizard, it's 7 energy total. But in order to get 7 energy, you probably need double Superior Energy Retrieval at this point in time.
So Sebastian does have the Charizard, did find that off Ultra Ball, thanks to Charmeleon being in play last turn. No rare candies needed. We'll see Charizard be able to come into play and power anything up. And, we see it's going to be the Nest Ball searched off the Quick Search ability. Now Charizard coming into play means you can go ahead and power up this bench Charizard on the bench, while also getting an energy onto Charizard EX. We are flooding the board with energy cards and essentially putting Jason on a clock. Jason's going to have to find a way to, like you said, either use that Rare Candy Dusknoir in combination with Make It Rain for 200 damage, or some way to use Boss's Orders and have a total of 5 energy cards in the hand to knock out either of those benched 2 prize Pokemon.
Yep. Now, one big issue right now for Sebastian is that he did prize 1 energy and did prize the Night Stretcher. So finding that extra energy for Charizard will require a Super Rod and a retreat of that Radiant Charizard and almost a Quick Search. So this could be difficult to piece out, even if he manages to stop Jason from winning next turn.
I think the thought here for Sebastian is, do you want to commit this fire energy? And we haven't seen it be commit from the hand yet for turn. So here we go. I think this is just really the last big decision for Sebastian. There's no Stadium in play, no reason to play Lost Vacuum. Does still have the Forest Seal Stone. Let's not forget that. There could be a world potentially here where Sebastian could consider, if there's a Dusknoir or Rare Candy in the hand, you could Rare Candy the Dusknoir and not use its ability, so that way your opponent can't Dusknoir your Duskull on the bench. But I'm not sure that's quite an option. Sebastian will use that V-Star power, so I wonder here what card he's looking for.
Does seem like it's going to be Rare Candy Dusknoir to put your Dusknoir, your Duskull rather, out of range of their Dusknoir, meaning Jason can now only find that Boss's Orders plus a Superior Energy Retrieval to win the game. Finding that 1 copy, you can't Cypher Maniac for it, right? You just have to hope to draw it between concealed cards, between coin bonus, between Pheasantipity. It's not going to be easy.
You know what would be a lot easier, Pablo? If he took it off the prize cards. That was the card he took in combination with Superior Energy Retrieval.
Really?
Those were the 2 prize cards taken here for Jason. If he has everything he needs, let's look. Is there the boss? Am I missing it here? Does he not have the boss?
I see a Cypher Maniac.
No, it was the boss taken off the prizes. Is that correct?
Like, he only took 1 prize card last turn. It was probably Iono to the bottom or on first stamped away after he took it.
And this is a spot here where, is there a way to potentially shuffle the deck? We'll start with this concealed cards. Finds the Lost Vacuum. What's the second card? It's a Night Stretcher. I don't know if that's going to be the pieces that Jason needs in this spot. This is the big question. And look, even the counter catcher being taken could have potentially also worked in the spot, since you could counter catcher just to activate, or excuse me, Reckoning Dusknoir just to activate that counter catcher. Here we go, big coin bonus here. What do we find? Finds the boss's orders, the exact card Jason needs to close this game out. Coin bonus coming in clutch, and that means Jason will win this long game 3 and advance to 7-1-1. What a clutch draw there for Jason to close things out.
That double prize penalty coming in clutch for Jason, put a lot of pressure towards